Okay, I'd like to invite everybody, start again.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome everybody to this eighth session of the No Nickel for Genocide Working Group. Its monthly forum on the role of Sudbury nickel in war and genocide and arming the U.S. and Israel. For the people who've just come here the first time, I'll give a very quick summary of what we talked about.
And then we'll do introductions. Like we'll go around the table.
Okay, I'm Dave.
I'm Alan, Spider Alan.
I'm Charles Tonsel.
Eric Burrington. I'm Connor.
Adam.
And that's Brack. Okay.
I'm Brack.
Yeah, no, the first one we held was last November, and we introduced that booklet that was written, deals with the history of hey, I can pass some out.
Thank you.
Whoop! That could have been dangerous. Anyway, in this book we talked about how that Sudbury is synonymous with nickel, and that nickel is synonymous with war. That the two world wars couldn't have been fought in the way they were if nickel hadn't been discovered in Sudbury. If a method for separating nickel from copper wasn't developed, and a market for nickel wasn't developed with the introduction of armor plating on the ships of that time. And for the first two world wars, Sudbury, Canada, and Sudbury were essentially the main sources of supply of nickel. Sudbury produced 90% of the world's nickel in the first half of the last century, and 90% of that went towards military use. The amount that's gone towards military use has shrunk in the last 50, 60 years, but it's still an important raw material for the manufacture of weapons. In our second one, we showed that nickel is still a vital war material, and how nickel is used in different weapons of this time. Then we started talking about the global nickel industry, the Canadian nickel industry. And one thing we defined about the Canadian nickel industry that was really quite relevant is that all the nickel that we mine and smelt and refine in Sudbury in Canada is exported, mainly through Detroit and Buffalo and into those the states just south of the Great Lakes, where there's a large amount of well, historically it was the manufacturing sector became the Rust Belt, but what manufacturing goes on still is in those areas. We also talked last time about the growth of the armaments industry and the major armaments manufacturers throughout the world. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so tonight's session, when I changed the name of it. I originally had Sudbury nickel and the war in Iran, and then the war in Iran was over, so changed it to the war in the Middle East. And Emily said, had the word fuel. So the title of this session is Sudbury Nickel Fuels War in the Middle East. War in the Middle East is it may have slowed down the last couple of days, but it's still expanding. It's still there in large degree, and the chances of it breaking out again are high. And in Gaza, it's still going on. Anyway, what I want to do is to try to show how Canadian nickel is funneled into the U.S.-Israeli war machine. And I got material prepared to discuss three weapon systems. The F-15, F-16, F-35 warplanes, and the MX or MK-80 series of bombs, 250, 500, 1,000, and 2,000 pounds, which when they get a guidance kit put on become, I think it was a GPU-57. No, that wasn't it. Anyway, look at that, those warplanes and the bombs in terms of the nuclear content. That's one aspect, because those weapons have been used to simply devastate Gaza.
So when they put the guidance kit on, they become quote unquote smart bombs.
Yeah.
What they call them, yeah.
What they call them. Yeah.
The second, if we get time, I'm not sure we will. The second weapon system I wanted to talk about is the B-2 stealth bomber and the GPU-57 bomb, which that's that 30,000 pound bunker buster bomb that's supposed to be able to do all sorts of nasty things.
Go through a mountain,
Pardon?
go through a mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, sit down. Anyway, that's a major weapon system. And then the third one I want to look at is the again involved in the attack on Iran, the Ohio class submarine and the Tomahawk missiles, which they fired 30 of them to attack Iran, attack the nuclear power facilities in Iran. And key thing I would like to talk about is that all these weapon systems require a significant amount of nickel, and that there's a high probability that this nickel comes from Sudbury. Like we pointed out earlier that, Vic Fideli is the MPP for Nipissing North Bay, and he's the Minister of, let's get this right, Economic Development, Jobs and Trade. Anyway, in March, he went on CBC television. He said the 56% of the nickel that's consumed by the U.S. Department of Defense, which I call the Department of War, originates in Ontario, and nickel comes from Sudbury in Ontario. It doesn't mind anywhere else. So over half of the weaponry that's used by the U.S. in Israel depends on raw materials that come from Sudbury, and we need to do something about that. If you look at the supply chains for those three weapon systems, you can see in general sort of the general flow.
Wait, sorry. This one, the one you're looking at. Do I have it?
Yeah, it's introduction.
Okay, give me a moment.
It's only about 3 paragraphs, which were
Just give me a second. Ah, there it is. Sorry, I just want people to be able to see it. That's all. There we go.
okay. So if you look at the nickel supply chain for those three, each of those weapon systems, they all have quite a bit in common. The first step for all of them is mining and refining of nickel. An example is Vale and Glencore in Sudbury. Second is nickel alloy and stainless steel manufacturers who take that nickel in the States that we export, combine them with other metals to make alloys, to make stainless steel, and to fabricate various shapes, rods and bars and pipe and plates and billets. There's about 10 of them. Which then become the raw materials for the next step. The next step, the third step is, well, it says here parts and component manufacturers. Basically, these are subcontractors. In this case, I given here example Pratt and Whitney, which is an engine maker. Collins Aerospace, which makes, amongst other things, landing gear, and HMI powders, which make jet engines. And also, like, the big US armaments manufacturers tend to be subcontractors. Lockheed Martin, RTX, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamic, and the subsidiaries. Quite often, the big US armaments manufacturer is the word cabal, like they're
Cartel? Cartel?
cartel, yeah. They work very much together. Like there'll often be two or three her subcontractors, and one of them will be the prime contractor. So we'll look at like that. Yeah, and then the fourth step, final assembly by the prime contractor. In in this example, General Dynamic Electric Bolt, that's for the submarine. And then the last step is the delivery of the weapon to the U.S. Armed Forces, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, or to various foreign governments which may have bought it. And actually, can you pull up the file that says, what did I call it? Illustrations, chapter 10, illustrations,
Sure. Let me check the thing. Let me see if I can
and
find
go to the very,
it. Just a sec. Okay. Illustrations, you called it?
yeah, it's just a bunch of,
I don't see it.
okay. And the very last slide, Ohio class submarine supply chain simplified view.
I don't see illustration. Okay.
There, it's right at the bottom.
Oh, you sent it in, okay, you sent it at the last one. Okay. One sec. Give me a moment here.
Yeah, go right down the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Some of these are useful and some of them are not very.
Said that about me and my kid, so we worked out.
All the way to the bottom?
All the way to the bottom, the very last one.
There.
There we are. Okay. Can you blow that up at all?
How much, I just did. How much do you want me to blow it up?
That's the elephant now.
Know if you can do any bigger.
Anyway,
Give me a sec.
okay, well, that's as good as we get. My eyes are, if I take my glasses off, it's much better. Anyway, like there, in this diagram, it is a supply chain diagram for the Ohio class submarines that fired at those bunker buster bombs at Iran. The top level is the mining, smelting, nickel mining, smelting, and refining companies. Vale, Sudbury in Canada. It has Glencore in Norway, but that's talking about the refinery, Nickelback. The ore or the smelter, the matte comes from Sudbury, right? Comes from Raglan. Some of it comes from Sudbury. It's smelted in Sudbury. So those first two are definitely there are a problem. And then the third company they have is BHP, Broken Hill Propriety of Australia. They produce nickel sulfide and is exported to the U.S. So on the first level, you have nickel mining, smelting, refining companies. And the second level, there's four companies there. Special Metals Corporation in West Virginia, Haynes International in Indiana, ATI Allegheny, I forget what it is, anyway, in Pennsylvania, and Carpenter Technology, which is also in Pennsylvania. Yeah, the second one. Those four companies are nickel alloy manufacturers, stainless steel manufacturers. They take the nickel that comes from Canada, from Sudbury here, add in various other metals to come up with the various alloys like Inconel, Hastelloy, and all Monel, all the others. And it's just these four companies are involved in the war production, defense production. Any other company that is in the U.S. that manufactures stainless steel is a consumer, like they're making those products for
Domestic,
for consumer purposes. But Special Metals, Haynes, ATI, and Carpenter, they produce the metals, nickel alloys for the defense industry. The third line gives a list of what I call subcontractors. They list here, I don't know what all these companies are, BWX Technologies, GE Northrop and turbines, they'll be involved in nickel for the jet engines. Or those wouldn't be jet engines, but they'd be the engines for the submarine. Curtiss-Wright Motors and Pumps, DRS Technologies, and the propulsion. I haven't looked into the details. I don't know those particularly what those very much about those companies, but they'd be companies that manufacture major aspects of the submarine. One company would do the hull. Another company do the nuclear reactor for the engine system. Another company does the motors and pumps and stuff like that. And on this level here, the companies involved will change depending upon what is the product that's being produced. Like if you have you're making a jet engine like the F-15 or F-16, you will almost certainly get Pratt and Whitney in there because they build half the jet engines in the U.S. Finally, down on the bottom, we have the prime contractor or the general contractor. In this case, it's General Dynamics Electric Boat, which is a subsidiary of General Dynamics that makes submarines. And over on the side, we have three other companies that are named, which also contribute to the building of the higher class submarines, but they're not the prime contractor, they're a subcontractor, even though Lockheed Martin is a subcontractor there, but it's the biggest armaments company in the States with $60 billion of sales each year. But in here, yeah, Lockheed Martin for the combat systems, for Raytheon or ATX for the Tomahawk missiles, and Northrop Grumman for the Sona. Hey, come on in and sit down. Okay. We're talking about how submarine nickel used to, and very importantly, to manufacture various U.S. Israeli weapons. And we talked about the sort of the flow chart in general. This is a flow chart for an Ohio class submarine, but it is typical of all the weapon systems. The difference being that the companies in the third line will change depending upon what is being manufactured. But the first step at the top is the mining, smelting, and refining, Valley Glencore, BHP. The second is in the US, is the alloy manufacturers, stainless steel manufacturers, special metals, Haynes International, ATI, and Carpenter. The third line is subcontractors, you can call them about. Companies that manufacture major subsystems of that's the nuclear submarine. For the hull, the engine, the nuclear power plant, the weapons, they all anyway. And like if you look at an F-15 or a Tomahawk missile, those companies are going to change. But this is a higher class submarine. Finally, on the bottom there, we have General Dynamics Electric Boat. That's the the prime contractor for building these submarines. And three other big, 4 of the 5 big 5 U.S. armaments manufacturers are all involved in building different aspects of that. So it's very, I can't remember that word again. Cabal?
Cartel.
Pardon?
Cartel. Cartel.
Titel?
Cartel.
Cartel, yeah, you could think it's a cabal. They're all in each other's,
Yeah.
let's keep it in polite company.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to now go through and explain in some more detail how nickel is used in various weapons. But this is a very important to sort of graph or chart to understand, because if you understand that, they all are basically the same with especially the third line and maybe the fourth line are changing. The top 2 lines are the same.
Just I wanted to make. Are you done with the illustration?
Go ahead, ask me.
No. Are you done with the illustration here?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to mention something. So the program I'm using is called Libra Office Writer, and it's open source software. It's basically like Windows, Microsoft Word, excuse me, only it's not Microsoft. And the reason we're using it is because we're keeping in line with PSS's like boycott, divestment, and sanctions. So basically, every subscription to Microsoft Word is $100, right? So, and Microsoft is directly complicit in providing artificial intelligence to the Zionist military. to help enable the Holocaust in Gaza, and that's why I'm using LibreOffice Writer, which is open source. You can make donations to them. It's an excellent program. You don't have to pay for it. It's completely free, but donations are encouraged. If you'd
Yeah.
like more information about this, please see me after.
I use a program called Open Access, which is basically a clone of Microsoft Word,
Okay.
but it's open source.
Yeah.
Mainly I use it for the publisher. My version of Word does include publisher, so yeah. Anyway, let's go back to
So we're done with this diagram, yeah?
well, leave it. I want to come back to some of those diagrams.
Sure, sure.
The chapter 10A. Okay.
Give me a sec.
This chapter is called DFARS, ITAR, and other U.S. military procurement regiments. The U.S. Is very sorry. Somebody saying something?
No, I got it. They were just unmuted. We're good.
Okay. The U.S. has quite a few regulatory bodies which require that the raw materials used in U.S. military manufacturing either come from the U.S., like they're mined or produced in the U.S., or they are come from a number of quote unquote qualified countries. And this is important, and I'll explain it to you more in a little while. Some of these agencies are NAVSEA, Naval Sea Systems Command. It certifies all materials under the SubSafe, which is a submarine safety program, are made in the U.S. Or the Defense Logistics Agency controls who's a qualified supplier of strategic metals. DFARS, the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations Supplement. Whoever can remember these, I'll give them a
Metal.
yeah. ITAR, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, and the Berry Amendment. These govern sourcing and traceability of nickel and its alloys. Anyway, they want to the U.S. wants to have control of its raw materials in order to keep their quality control. They don't want to have scrap with all sorts of impurities in it going into making their nuclear submarines. They want class 1 nickel 99.8% plus nickel like we make in Sudbury.
I also want to make a point here, especially with ITAR, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations. This is meant to keep like U.S. arms out of the quote unquote like terrorist groups, right? But in many cases, this regulation has actually been flouted by like NATO countries, including France, in which case U.S. U.S. arms were found to be in the hands of Al Qaeda, and provided directly to Al Qaeda, and directly to the Haftar regime in Libya. Even with this ITAR really doesn't. I mean, it's how do I say this? It's hypocritical. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bit of information here in ITAR. It's a U.S. export control law that governs defense articles, technical data, and defense services. It's enforced by the State Department, not the Department of Defense, Department of War. It ensures that sensitive military technologies are only shared with approved foreign nations. So it doesn't say exactly. Suppliers of defense materials, including nickel-based alloys, must be ITAR registered if they either provide parts or data for defense articles or technical documentation. Yeah, a non-US company like Valley and Sudbury here may not be ITAR registered itself, but if the nickel flows into an ITAR compliant fabricator, like those four companies I mentioned, Special Metals, Haynes, ATI, and Carpenter, um, because it goes to those companies, they're is considered compliant.
I didn't mean to throw you off topic. Do you want me to go back to the NAVC so you can go through?
No, I'm going to hit the highlights on this because I've got I got this pile of papers to go through, and I'm on the second page.
Okay.
The Defense Logistics Agency is another one. Oh, come on, computer.
You can read it from here if you want.
Yeah, I know I can't. The Defense Logistics Agency is a logistics and procurement army of the Department of Defense, buys, stores, and distributes materials, parts, fuels, food, and critical minerals, manage the national defense stockpile, which includes strategic metals like nickel, works under DFARS to enforce ITAR, and the subsafe and NAVC, it controls them too. If you look just below,
Full chart.
yeah, there's what happened here?
There.
No, did I Mike?
Here, just look up.
No, it's not here. Okay. Yeah, there's a flow chart of sorts of how that works. I don't think I'll spend too much time on that. Anyway, there's these agencies again, what their role is and how they interconnect with other agencies. If you want to look at this in detail, you can look at it at home. Anyway, how all this relates to Sudbury nickel, that's what we want to look at. I'm going to read a bit of this. Sudbury nickel is a raw material which has been refined into class 1 nickel or powder. It becomes relevant when it is sold to an ITAR compliant US alloy producer, example, ATI and Carpenter. It used to make nickel super alloys for submarines or enters the Defense Logistics Agency managed supply chains for military use. Compliance with NAVC, subsafe, DFARS, ITAR must be maintained after the Sudbury nickel leaves Canada and enters US-based processing and fabrication. So basically, Canadian nickel. Well, let me go on a little note. Canada is one of 24 qualifying countries under DFARS. Most of these countries are NATO countries. Others include Israel, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. Under DFARS, qualifying countries are nations that have reciprocal defense procurement agreements with the US. And these agreements allow the foreign companies to be treated similarly to US arms for Department of Defense contracts. exempting them from certain Buy American Act restrictions. That's when they talk about the Berryman Amendment, and they're talking about modifications to the Buy American Act that for certain weapons, you don't have to buy American stuff. Countries designated under DPARs.
Before you continue, can people at the back see it, read that? You're good to go? Okay, perfect.
Okay, as you see in this list, they're mostly NATO countries. What is interesting here, that diagram I showed you a while ago, which had Vale, Glencore, and BHP in Australia as being the three companies that supplied Class 1 nickel for the U.S. Department of Defense. Right
there.
I lost my those three companies. Most of these other 24 countries that the US could import nickel from don't produce nickel. Finland produces some, but it's mostly Russian. They refine it.
The Russian ore.
Pardon?
They refine Russian ore.
Yeah, Russian matte, I think. The UK used to produce. They have a refinery in Clydach, Wales. They used to refine Canadian matte, but now it's all from Indonesia. So like Australia and Canada, Norway is the other country, but Norway has a refinery which refines Canadian ore, or Canadian matte. So really, when it comes to it, that out of these 24 countries, the only two countries that the U.S. could get Class 1 nickel from is Canada and Australia. Okay, this might be coming off the top of my head or not in the notes, but if I have developed in my head sort of a rough analysis of what countries or where the U.S. gets its defense nickel from, or nickel that's used in armaments manufacturers. By my guesstimation, about 45% of it comes from Vale and Sudbury. About another 10% comes from Glencore, which is Raglan in Quebec and Sudbury, by way of Norway. About 10% is Australian from BHP, is nickel sulfide, which I want to find out how that's processed, but I haven't found that out yet. About 10%, U.S. gives precedence to metals that are mined and processed in the U.S. So almost all of the little bit of nickel that the U.S. mines goes into the armaments industry. They have a mine in Eagles Nest mine in Michigan, which is about to close down, so that may be deteriorating. And then I think about 25% is scrap. Scrap may have originated in Canada because it's scrap. The U.S. says it's American. Okay. But anyway, Canada is a source of over half of the nickel used in U.S. armaments. This little table here, legal references with Canada's status under DPARs. There we are. Just what a qualifying country is defined as. It's in a country that the department, that the US has a reciprocal agreement. And Canada's included. List of qualified countries, Canada included. And there's another restriction, specialty metals must be melted or produced in the US or a qualifying country. Like a, what sub-reduces a defense relevant and carbonyl nickel? I'm on page, I don't think this one has a page number. Class 1 briquettes, and then also copper and cobalt are classified as critical minerals. Okay.
There, found it.
Yeah, I'm skipping through. U.S. companies that currently tap Valley's Sudbury nickel stream for defense grade alloys. Bunch of companies there. Y Valley, Inca. Yeah, sorry. Oh,
There was.
what did I do? Just close that down?
You want my help? Yeah, I think you closed it down here. Take a look. There it is. Here we are.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. It's yeah, I just want to I don't want to spend all night here. If people want to look at it, all the detailed, and I have quite a bit of it. Just we're about here, Tomahawk missile supply
You
chain.
want to start here?
Yeah, let's start there.
Give me a moment.
I have information. This is um, yeah, this is Tomahawk. I have some information later on. I don't know if we'll get to there, but the Tomahawk missiles that were fired from that Ohio class submarine. But this involves all the companies that are involved. Well, maybe not all, but the big ones that are involved in manufacturing that Tomahawk missile. There's quite a few companies here. Valley, those four nickel alloy companies, bunch of companies I don't really know too well. RT Raytheon, so it's a subsidiary of RTX. It has the prime contractor for. Anyway, you can look at all these. They're all up on
Your drive.
pardon?
They're on your, these, everything's on your drive.
It's yeah, and what do they call it? I forget the name of they call it, but it's all up, and if I give you the right link, you can access this 21 chapters. Some are more better done than others.
Just a little thing. The Tomahawk missile is 2 million a pop.
Pardon?
2 million a pop.
Tomahawk?
Yeah. Per unit.
Yeah. Okay. Is Valley Sudbury's ITAR compliant? Yes. I think I probably got more information than I need to need in here and added some of this. I think that might be a bit of a repetition here. Anyway,
Just tell me where you stop.
okay, let's go right down to the very end. There's a table called Valley Sudbury Nickel and the DLA,
Found it.
Defense Logistics Agency. Okay, this sums everything up. The overall in command is the DLA. It is the U.S. military's logistic and procurement agency for defense materials, including nickel. Sudbury is a source of class 1 high purity nickel that meets military grade alloy standards. The link is that Sudbury nickel flows into the U.S. defense supply chain by approved alloy producers. And it has to conform to all these rules and regulations. Anyway, like what I wanted, the key thing to get about this is that the nickel that the U.S. uses in its military applications is controlled through these regulations,
Regulatory bodies.
yeah, so that only Canadian and Australian source nickel are allowed into the U.S. for weapons production. And I think that's a very, very important point to make. So Canada and Australia are the source of all the U.S. weapons. Maybe not all, but many of the U.S. weapons. Any questions or discussions so far? No? Okay. I'm going to
I can see why it's 2 million per unit now. So when you fired a Tomahawk missile at a 50-cent tent, it racks the yeah.
yeah, okay.
We could get really dark there, but we're waiting.
Okay, let me find my other document. I lost it again.
Which document is it?
F-15, F-16.
Not the B2, right?
Okay. No, nickel and Zionist generated weapon system, the F-15, F-16, and F-35 warplanes,
Yeah.
and the MK series of I've been known to rant and rave at computers, so okay. So one of the weapon systems that both the US and Israel use quite extensively are these F-15, F-16, and F-35. They call them fighters, but they're also bombers. And the MK-80 series bombs that they drop, as well as when they're made, a smart kit is added to them, they become sort of a smart bomb. You were talking about this a minute or two ago. And they're supposed to provide much improved targeting. I will be not making any comments on that. I want to talk about the amount of nickel and how nickel is used in the manufacture of these warplanes. The specific information is not publicly disclosed because of the sensitive nature of military technology and proprietary manufacturing. However, nickel is known to be an important material in aerospace due to its strength, corrosion resistance, and ability to withstand high temperatures. It's commonly used in superalloys for jet engines, landing gear, and other structural components. In general, modern military aircraft like the F-15, also the F-15, F-16 and 35, use significant amounts of nickel-based superalloys, particularly in the engines, which can contain up to 50% nickel or more. The airframe uses nickel in smaller quantities. And so for a very general estimate, we could say that each of these planes contains several hundred kilograms of nickel. And we'll come back to that later. A little bit of history about the F-15 plane. It's manufactured by Boeing Defense, Space and Security, i.e. Subsidiary of Boeing. Boeing is the only one of the big five armaments manufacturers that the majority of its revenue comes from civilian applications, like buying all these, building all these,
Civilian airliners.
yeah. But about 40% of Boeing's revenue comes from military, so they're in there. And anyway, in terms of the engine, which is the big part for nickel, Pratt and Whitney, which is a subsidiary of RTX, I believe, and General Electric, depending on the variety of the plane. The original F-15 ABCD models were powered by the Pratt and Whitney engine. The newer variants, such as the F-15E Eagle, are with the General Electric. Often which engine they have depends on what country is buying the plane. A little bit on the origins of the F-15 fighter. It goes back to the time of the Vietnam War, where the U.S. Air Force found out that the Soviet MiG fighters were better than the Phantom F-4s that the U.S. was using. The F-4 was designed for missile combat, but in Vietnam, the fighters were called upon to engage in dogfights. So anyway, the existing U.S. plane wasn't sufficient, and they started a program to develop new ones. In '65, they launched an FX fighter experimental program to develop a new air superiority fighter. Its advantages compared to the old were to have superior agility, a more powerful radar, advanced missiles, a longer range and speed. Anyway, in '69, Boeing, well, McDonnell Douglas, which was now part of Boeing, was given the contract. Had his first maiden flight in '72. In the F-15A was a single seater. The F-15B was a two-seater trainer version. In the '80s, C and D were introduced. Again, C was a single seater and D was a two-seater. Okay, the F-15 has quote unquote unmatched air superiority, and an air-to-air kill ratio of 100-0. It's been used in the Gulf War by the U.S., by the Israeli Air Force, and by the Saudi Air Force. Yeah, so besides the US, the F-15 has been exported to Israel, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. And go down a little bit, where are we?
David,
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, this is
I have to go.
okay.
I'll message you about meeting for coffee.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
go for coffee
Yeah.
sometime. Glad you came for how long you can go.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on underground shifts and I'm.
Yeah, and look after your baby. That's,
Yes,
they might be almost crawling around, almost walking around now.
Probably in like 2 or 3 weeks. So
Right.
she's 2 or 3 weeks probably. She's rolling over onto her stomach now.
Not gonna be long. And your life is, you think the life is bad now? Wait till that kid can walk and crawl and get around.
Yeah.
You need eyes in the back of your
I
head.
had 2 or 3 weeks of baby proof, and then hopefully I'm not like, everything in my house is toppling over and hurting her.
Okay.
But I'll reach out to you and we'll meet for coffee soon.
I hope you enjoyed this information. We'll get you all this material to read because I'm sort of skipping through and hitting some of the high points and leaving a lot out, which
Yeah.
is
Send me a PDF too, and I can
Yeah.
put it as well.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that.
I'll see you soon, David.
Anyway, there's been about 1,600 F-15s produced since 1972. That's 50 years. About 1,000 went to the US, 200 to Japan, 150 to Saudi Arabia, over 100 to Israel. Um, and there's a picture. Go back.
In case you ever see one.
Pardon?
In case you ever see one.
Yeah, when it's like, 10 or 20 years ago, they had the Canadian precision jets,
Snowbirds?
snowbirds.
Yeah.
They were at Lake Ramsey, and like it's scary to have them come over that hill, and like it's one thing to go, ooh, and 10,000 people watching it. But if that guy was had his weapons gear to go, like, I wouldn't want to be in his way.
So basically, the F-15 is basically half a century old.
Yeah.
More than half a century
Yeah,
old.
yeah. The oldest
60
version,
years.
pardon?
60 years.
60 years since it was first developed.
1965 is 60 years.
53
Exactly.
years since it was first went into production or into service. So yeah, and there's been 5 different models, so it's been upgraded.
Yeah.
Okay, development of the F-15 Eagle. This summarizes what I just told you, but it's not very well organized. Post-Vietnam, then go down one to Douglas wins the contract, then go up to early production models, go down to initial deployment. But anyway,
Keep going.
A lot of this diagram was produced by an artificial intelligence program, Chat CGT, I think it's called.
ChatGPT.
And I must say that a couple of the diagrams in that it gave me were really quite good. And some of the other ones, I'm not impressed. This one is sort of in between. It has some information, but you have to know how it's organized and sorted out to get the good information from the bad. Costing the F-15. It has the F-15EX Eagle 2, the newest variant, has a flyaway cost, a unit procurement cost of approximately $94 million in 2025. So that's a lot of money. That's just one. Um, based on the US acquisitions for 19 or 2025, they want to procure 98 of these planes at a total cost of 10.3 billion. And if you notice that if one plane costs $94 million, that's just for the purchase cost. The operating costs, maintenance, upgrades, fuels, training, is at least double that over the life of the plane. So you can assume that each F-15 costs about $200 million
Over the
to
life.
buy and operate over its lifetime, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's just one.
Mhm.
Um, okay, a little bit on the role of the F-15. As a central role in the USAF as a tactical fighter, designed primarily for air superiority, but also adapted for strike missions. So air superiority, Israel wants to fly over Syria and not let any Syrian planes come up in the air and
They
challenge them.
They did announce they had their superiority over Iran at one point.
Yeah, no, that's one of their aims is to gain air superiority over a certain territory, where the enemy, whoever they may be, are not able to fly. Um, the other purpose is for strike missions, i.e., for bombing various places. Um, F-15C and D are air superiority fighters. Their mission is to detect, track, and destroy enemy aircraft. Anyway, the F-15E is for the deep strike. Okay, here's you might be a little bit of time to spend here. How Israel has used the F-15. I don't know, this would be good news for you, but you might want to. Israel has used the F-15 extensively since acquiring it in the late 1970s, making it one of the most combat-proven operators. The Israeli Air Force has used it in both air superiority and strike roles as necessary. Some of the ways that they've used it in terms of air superiority, in 1979, 1982, in that period of time, it was used to establish dominance in the skies over Libya, Lebanon, and Syria. In 1982, in the Lebanon War, called Operation Peace for Galilee by the Zionists.
Of course, when they say war, they mean invasion. But
Pardon?
when they say war, they actually mean invasion and genocide.
Yeah, no, this is I've been going through and editing it a little bit to at least get the most annoying like I want to say call the US Department of Defense, just don't call it the Department of Defense at all, it's the Department of War. Anyway. Yeah, so the F-15 was credited with 40 air-to-air kills of various MiGs without any losses, and they established complete air superiority over the Syrian forces. And the Israeli Air Force was the first to achieve an air-to-air kill. The Israelis have a version. It's called the F-15I RAM, R-A apostrophe A-M, meaning thunder. It's based on the US 15E Strike Eagle, but Israel has added a whole bunch of features based on its military technique. Um,
Well, I mean, it's not Israel doing it. It's the US providing its cutting edge technology to its client state. It's what it is. I mean, calling it Israeli technology is pushing it.
Kind of like
It-
Dell computers of jets, you know, you call in what you want and they'll put it together for you.
Exactly.
It comes out of the box.
Israel does have a fairly substantial armaments industry. It has three of the largest 100 in the world.
Right, but only
Like I have to look at this a little bit, but remember a while ago, I was talking about those that flow chart and the nickel mining companies up ahead, the nickel alloy companies, the subcontractors and the prime contractor. In many ways, Israel is sort of like the subcontractor. Um,
Well, the thing is that the only reason that the Zionist regime has a military industry is because the United States gives them access to the most cutting edge technology that they have to offer that they don't even provide to NATO countries.
I would agree with that. The U.S. is supplying Israel with a large amount of military equipment, but the Israelis have quite a bit of their own capabilities.
Built on.
They're not. They're dependent. Um, um, they're dependent, but they do have their own capabilities in a lot of ways. They produce various components for like this one, this F-15I. It's based on the F-15E that the U.S. uses, but it's got a lot of Israeli armaments, sensors, whatever in it. It's been upgraded.
And those things would not be included in any of the F-15s that the American Air
Yeah,
Force
no, no. We can look at the details of what those weapon systems that the Israelis have added in. Yeah. Anyway, there's more notable operations. Operation Opera in 1981 when Israel bombed the Iraq's nuclear reactor. Operation Orchard in 2007 when the Israeli F-15s bombed a Syrian nuclear reactor. And ongoing operations in Syria.
And keep in mind, this is all while Israel has nuclear weapons that there are and does not allow access to these to its nuclear facilities by the IAEA. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I have support here. Israeli F-15s have undergone significant domestic upgrades. This is advanced Israeli-made avionics, EW systems. I'm not sure what that is.
Electronic warfare.
Pardon?
Electronic warfare.
Okay. Radar and weapon integration. Compatibility with Israeli smart munitions, example, Spice, Rampage, and Delilah. And enhanced night and all-weather capabilities. Israeli maintenance and upgrade standards often exceed U.S. norms, allowing the F-15I to remain combat effective. Okay, the role today of the F-15. The F-15 A, B, C, and D are still used for air superiority, training, and control. the F-15I Ram, which is the Israeli one, is central to various strike missions. And it says the F-15 remains Israel's strategic backbone for missions too risky or payload heavy for the F-35.
One thing I guess I should mention is that most of the countries that Israel are all the most actually all the countries that Israel bombs, right? They do not have like a tangible air force, honestly. Syria, Lebanon,
Syria had a bit of an air force,
that dated back to
but it wasn't.
well, it was dating back to the Soviet era.
Yeah. Lebanon may have had a few planes, but not many. Iran,
Again, dating back to the Soviet
yeah.
era.
Yemen doesn't have an air force.
There is no country that Israel has bombed that had a tangible air force.
No. Um,
Oh,
okay, I got a section here.
Breck says Israel's illegal stockpile is estimated at 90 nuclear devices.
In 92, 200,
Depending on who you talk to.
depending on who you talk to, yeah. But there's not much doubt that the Israeli has a bunch of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, no, there's this whole thing about a nuclear test that was done between the coast of South Africa and Antarctica in the 1970s that nobody claims to know who did it or how did it. And they're saying that the evidence now is that they're like 99% certain it was Israel.
Right. Well, of
South
course.
Africa was not allowed it to happen. They used to be very strong allies.
Well, I mean, Israel did provide apartheid South Africa with nuclear weapons technology, and
In return, it seems, yeah.
And they actually offered to provide them with nuclear weapons themselves.
Wow.
Yeah. Apartheid South Africa, and it was Israel that basically helped South Africa bust in sanction busting.
Right, get around the sanctions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think same thing was true for the Pinochet regime in Chile.
Well, both of them were being supported by Western nations.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, sorry. Rip JFK.
What?
Well done, Breck. Breck says, rest in peace, John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Yeah.
So,
Kennedy perhaps wasn't one of the worst U.S. presidents. I don't know whether anyway.
Yeah.
The use of the F-15 in Gaza, if we want to update a little bit. One for precision airstrikes. F-15s have been used to strike militant command centers, weapon storage sites, rocket launching infrastructure, and tunnels. They drop GPS and laser-guided munitions, such as JDAMs. I don't forget what JDAM stands for.
Joint, something.
Yeah, I know what it is. I don't know what it, or Israeli spice bombs. To quote unquote minimize collateral damage while maximizing input.
Joint direct attack ammunition.
Pardon?
Joint direct attack munition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's minimizing collateral damage. I don't think what I've seen on TV bears out what they say. There's a lot of collateral damage. Then the target underground infrastructure.
I would love to see the source of this.
The F-15I with its large payload capacity is well suited to carrying bunker buster bombs, such as the GBU-28 or BLU-109, destroy these hardened underground structures. Anyway, I have some information about specific battles, conflicts. Operation Cast Lead in 2008, Pillar Defense, 2012, Protective Edge, 2014, Guardian of the Walls, 2021, and the current Gaza war.
So-
The
just a little context here. Each of these is its own genocide. These and this is just talking about Gaza, and this is just talking about the ones after 2006, not the ones before 2006.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, I mean, just keep that each of these. There's been
they've been around since 1978 in Israel.
sorry, what?
They've been used since 1978 by the
Yeah.
Israelis.
Well, my point is that so between you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 genocides besides the normative genocide that's happening in Gaza. These are just intensifications of genocide, is what I'm trying to say here.
Okay, to sort of sum up, the Israeli Air Force used F-15s for long duration bombing campaigns targeting weapons factories, rocket launchers, and high value militant assets,
They say.
supporting joint strikes with drones and other aircraft, and delivering heavy ordnance against multi-level tunnel complexes. Why use the F-15 in Gaza? Payload, range and speed, redundancy, and overmatch. Okay.
Well, they see it's built right in where they say, "Oh, these are precision strikes." Meanwhile, it's like, well, yeah, but you have this redundancy and overmatch thing, which says we will make sure we obliterate everything there to make sure we get our guy. You know, when they hit one of those apartment buildings, like all 4 floors around that apartment were destroyed. You know?
Right, but it's not that they're even targeting that one guy. They're targeting the civilian population because they said they were going to target the civilian population.
The claim is like there's 100 people in this apartment building, and we heard that this Hamas guy might have been hanging around. We're not sure, but that makes it a legitimate target in their view. And the fact that there's 100 women and children and old men who just happen to be in the building when it gets bombed, that this militant may or may not be there. It's
Well, the Zionist regime has basically said, Gaza, there are no civilians in Gaza. They literally said that.
Right.
There are no civilians in Gaza. So
Yeah.
everything is fair game.
the 66-month-old baby it's okay to kill him because he's going to grow up to be a terrorist.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get some more information here about the use of the F-15 in Lebanon and Syria, which I think I'm going to pass up. Yeah, there's some information here on the use of the F-15I on the attack on Iran. It 200 plus Israeli fighter jets carrying out 5 strike waves, delivering 330 munitions on about 100 targets. In summary. Okay, we talked about like how this F-15 plane is used. We have perhaps emphasized more on the use by the Israelis than the US, but let's go and talk a little bit about how much nickel is required to manufacture one of these planes. You're right there, Annette. As I said earlier, the exact amount of nickel is not publicly disclosed, but based on the knowledge of aerospace and a certain amount of other information about the F-15, we can figure out approximately how much nickel is in an F-15. And generally, it's about several hundred kilograms, primarily concentrated in the engines and the high stress components. So in the jet engines, the engines are the most nickel intensive part of the aircraft. Nickel-based super alloys are used extensively in turbine blades, discs, and high temperature components. I gotta get my head around what turbine blades and discs and that are in a jet engine. I keep on running across it, but I don't really understand what they are. They're a part of a jet engine. We'll leave it at that for now.
Well, do you want to show them like the cross section of what a jet engine looks like?
Um,
Quickly, I can Google it.
do you want to find one?
Oh, sure. I'll find one. Give me
Yeah, so a single jet engine contained hundreds of kilograms of nickel. So modern jet engines can be 40 to 50% of nickel by weight in the superalloys. In the airframe and structural components, nickel is used in smaller quantities in the airframe, landing gear, and other structural components, often in the form of, well, alloys, but coatings. They just cover the part where the bit of few molecules thick of coating to get various features.
So here's what a jet engine basically looks like.
Yeah,
So for people that are interested. So here's the fan blades right there. So I mean, and it shows like, so this is actually it's a good diagram actually.
yeah, that's one of the better ones.
So
I've looked at a few.
So these are the fan blades right here. These are the fan blades, and then they're made of titanium usually. And then the combustion chamber is a nickel alloy, lo and behold. So is the turbine exhaust of the case, turbine blades, which are right there, if you want to zoom that in. And then yeah, so good.
Want to save that diagram and send it to me?
I will do that.
Okay. Okay, can you go back to right underneath there is a dahlia. Hi, Brack.
Okay, give me a moment. Let me find it.
Hi.
I just saw you on the TV on the screen there. So
Okay, where are we?
okay, go down a little bit further. There, that diagram. This here is another flow chart for the manufacture of an F-15 airplane. It's fairly simplified, but if you understand the simple version of the process, it's easy to figure out the other details. If you start with the details, you're in trouble. Anyway, on the left, the first step is the mining of nickel in mining, smelting, and refining of nickel in Canada and Australia. Step two is the class one refiners. So that's in Canada and Australia too. US Allied produces, that's Special Metals, Carpenter Technology, ATI, and Haynes International. They're the companies that take that nickel that's imported from Canada and Australia and combine it with other metals to make alloys, which are used in various weapons. In this case, the F-15. Then, fourthly, they have a couple of examples of subcontractors. Pratt and Whitney is involved in the engines, in this case, making turbine blades. And also, Boeing makes the exhaust systems for those planes. And then finally, the F-15 final assembly, putting it all together, testing it. Who did we say did the final assembly? Can anybody remember?
Boeing.
Pardon?
Boeing.
Boeing, yes,
Right.
Boeing. Anyway, again, that's another fairly simple, but to grasp that, if you understand that after this hour and a half, I'm happy in the sense of. Okay, key details about F-15 manufacturing. The main plant is in St. Louis, Missouri, where they have manufacturing capabilities for the airframe, but they also do systems integration, putting all the parts that come from different suppliers together and testing it. The production line, the supply chain is international, and they have a number of international customers. This next diagram is pretty crappy. We'll pass that. Well, okay, yeah, that's it. Valley Norilsk and BHP. Well, Norilsk is Russian. That's an older diagram. U.S. isn't importing nickel from Russia anymore. The alloy pointer forgings and sheet. I think those are probably made by all. This is a crappy diagram. Let's not even talk about it.
Well, I mean, basically both these diagrams are the same as the diagram you showed at the beginning in illustrations, where it shows like mining.
Yeah,
So-
that is what everybody get. If you understand where Sudbury Valley nickel goes at the beginning, that's the source. Then going to the alloy manufacturers in the States, going to subcontractors which make various components, going to the general contractor, the fine contractor who puts it all together and tests it. Underneath that diagram of that engine, yeah,
Do you want to
this diagram here shows also like this is it's not a photograph, it's a diagram, but it shows you roughly where
a drawing?
the nickel is the various different. The nickel is used in the part of the jet engine which is the hottest.
Yeah, the combustor.
Yeah, and then just underneath there, and then there's a table. Where did I? Yeah, there's a table that shows the different components of the jet engine, the alloys that are used for each component, some notes. Moderate temperature, high strength. Okay, how's the time? 25 to 8.
We're looking at about probably
Pardon?
another 10 minutes.
Yeah, I have some material in here on the F-16 plane and the F-35 plane, and I'm not going to talk about those now. We've only got a few minutes left.
Mhm.
Another picture.
Perhaps we should talk about our next events, or do you
Yeah,
what do you
give me 5 more minutes, and then
I'll give you 10.
okay, no, never anyway. These MX series bombs.
Where are we here?
Um,
Are we still in the same document?
Actually, that's a text version of a nickel supply chain for an F-15. Mining in Sudbury, refining in Sudbury, nickel alloy production in the States, Manufacturing, component manufacturing, mostly in the States, final assembly. Okay, here. Page 35.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes and talk about bombs. Um, uh, we talked about airplanes, jet planes that deliver the bombs, and how important nickel is mainly for the engines and also for the structural components, landing gear especially, but other structural components, and a little bit to protect the electronics and to assist with the stealth capabilities. The other aspect that the F-15s and F-16s use nickel is in the casings of the bombs. I got a list of the MK 81 to 84, the weight, what other equipment. Like the MK82 is widely used. It forms the basis of the laser-guided GPU-12 bomb and the JDAM. Let me. Okay, we skip ahead to pay an estimated nickel content. That's oh shoot.
Close it again.
Yeah, okay.
I
There you go. Right here.
that one. Okay. Yeah, page 34.
Take it from there. Anyways, you're showing.
Anyway, we're running out of time. So all I want to say is that in the bombs themselves, there's not a huge amount of nickel. Maybe about 10 kilograms at the most, 5 to 10 kilograms. And it is mostly contained in the bomb casing, the metal that holds everything together. Where the munitions, the explosives go inside the fuel.
The middle part.
Yeah. And there's not really a huge amount of nickel in the bomb. It's mostly, as I said, to keep the strong casing. Where you do have an increased amount of nickel is in some of these smart bombs that have the penetrating ability. The cone is has some more nickel to make it stronger, and so it can penetrate deeper underground. But there's a certain amount of nickel in the bomb. Most of the nickel that we're concerned with comes in the jet planes, especially in the engines and the landing gear.
The delivery system.
Pardon?
The delivery system.
Yeah. And that I think I'll leave it. I only talked about a couple of pages. I got. And if I had a one sentence quick smart aleckly phrase, it would be to say nickel. If it's not in the bomb, it's in the bomber. Anyway, so that's some of what I'd produced on showing how nickel is used in various weapons that are. I mean, I have more information on tanks and stuff like that too. But how nickel is used in various weapons in practical, and to show how Sudbury nickel fits into that. And especially like, that, if you remember that, nickel supply chain, diagrams that I showed you. Yeah. Any questions or
Comments or
discussions or
concerns?
comments?
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of international overlapping gangs, like an international syndicate in regards to Ballet or Glencore and the other mining conglomerates. Even just coming here just feels like you're being listened to, you know?
Yeah,
Like some people outside.
no, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot of I don't want to say misunderstanding, but I guess a lot of people are just unaware. And realistically, we're dealing with, a military, a gang. And the only thing that we can really do, I feel like at this point, is what's psychological besides outright what's like what a revolution would entail, right?
Sure. During the time of the first two world wars, various politicians and the Sudbury Star talked openly about how important Sudbury nickel was for the war effort in the two world wars. Like in 1917, there was a trial in Sudbury. Some farmers out in Walden sued Inco for all the sulfur dioxide they were storing their farmland. And the judge openly said that the war is so important that he's not going to issue any type of injunction against Inco, whatever the facts of the matter were. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, are there any miners here? No? No?
In
Right.
regards to like
Please, the library is closing in 15 minutes at 8 o'clock, all bedrooms
Okay.
and meeting rooms.
Go ahead.
Okay, did you have a piece of paper?
He's gonna speak. Go ahead.
in regards to what can be done in regards to like getting the message out there, the best thing that like I can think of, like I don't know besides outright just like word of mouth and like handing out flyers in regards to like what media would take it or who can be trusted or even if it's a viable story. But even itself, like the water tower, you're probably familiar with the water tower. Are you familiar with the sale of the water tower?
Here in town?
Mhm.
Yeah, I know all about it.
Do you know like were you able to see like any receipts for it?
Receipts that it was sold or
Yeah,
bought
that it was sold.
from the city?
Yeah.
Okay, I could try to find out, yeah.
Because in 2003, it was essentially lost back by an Australian national who was a project manager for Glencore at the time to rezone that property for commercial use, which is essentially just like a business tactic to take public land and 3 or 4 times like the price.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, City Council approved a sale to that same national and a $1,000 application that was sold by private tender via the Sudbury Star, January 2006, on the 18th. There's been a lot of misinformation, but he essentially, to get it, he had to create a shell company called We Star Investments, and that was passed along to another shell company called Media Environmental, which was owned by Jeff Peral and Justin Roy. And then again, now is handed off to Dario in 2016. So this is international, and clearly the mining companies know, and I mean, you can even look around the city itself. I mean, look downtown, like look at the courthouse, you look at like the city center, we see all these private construction sites and it's all just anti-protest construction. It's all intentional, all of it. So the best thing I think we can do is develop some sort of plan to formulate some sort of message, but we have to be a lot more active in regards to on defeat, because in regards to who we can and who we can't trust in regards to like the media, it's something I still think has been up for debate. I know the clear political interests, but I'm saying that in terms of oscillation of political thought in this moment, it might not matter, whether or not like CTV is a liberal or whatnot.
Don't
But-
be a conservative.
Yeah, it's just about getting the message out there.
Write your name and email address on in there.
And it's gonna take a lot more before, things get a little bit more serious,
I agree with you.
It's just, we're in this really particular state, this really particular point in time, and it's hard to navigate because we don't have a lot of tools besides kind of just psychological, like word of mouth stuff. Like you can't show, use of force. We know exactly what they're doing in regards to, the genocide. It's been the history of the United States, and it's happening not just abroad, but it's happening here at home with, disabled and poverty. It's just how it runs. The state itself, capitalism.
Well,
But
I would say like at this point in time, like this certain time we're in, it's incredibly hard to navigate, but it's incredibly easy to navigate, right? Because we have seen this before, right? Where with like a Holocaust, genocides, and we've seen where what the people that chose the side of those that were committing the Holocaust, and the people that chose the side of the victims. So yeah.
that's not up for question. It's just as like a temporal structure we're dealing with here. I think we have to be a little bit more thorough, just based off of how words are used against us. It's just, it's their world, so we kind of have to break it from within. Yeah.
Well, I think that actually brings to mind, my understanding of a strategy that's required with regards to the media and trying to get the word out to people, is that there's a moment for education, and we use these things as vehicles.
Yeah.
We must control the terms of reference that are being used. The media is extraordinarily lazy, and they're so busy trying to be cool that they're using all the wrong language. They don't even call us filthy socialists anymore. We're woke. Everybody has lost their direction. This is the time for us to take command of the word of terms of reference that are used, that we can start defining what these things are, and the media becomes our idiot that allows us to do that. It's a matter of doing it in a way that people will be listening and hearing and using the media our way. Same thing when it comes to all these other institutions. They're stupid, and right now they're as lost as everybody else, and this is our opportunity to take advantage of that. They should not be in control of terms like family values. Oh my God,
I wouldn't even say they're stupid or lazy. I would say they're incredibly smart, and they're incredibly proactive in basically burying anything that doesn't go with their narrative, I would say. I guess the only, I wouldn't say they're lazy or stupid. I would say they're incredibly smart and incredibly proactive in burying anything their agenda doesn't agree with.
I just think we have to be
Um,
careful about everything we say, because no matter where we are, we're always kind of, I don't think it's like a pathological thing to even think of today anymore, but in terms of being listened to.
Oh, no. It's
I'm going to-
Palestine in the media, and they're watching.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt a little bit because, that lady is saying, I would like to thank you all for coming out. I was passing a sheet around to get people's names and email addresses so we can let you know what's going on. Our next forum is on the first Thursday in August. I think it's the 3rd, but don't quote me on it. I wanted to have a little bit of discussion about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to go. Do we want to go and look at a few more weapon systems and,
Let me just, sorry, let me just finish this. So we have our next event, which is the protest at Scotiabank. It's gonna be this Saturday, 2 p.m., the Scotiabank on Barry Down Road. And then our next event is probably going to be, let me just think here. It's probably going to be another protest. We haven't made the details yet,
Yeah.
but we are also screening the movie, The Encampments, at the Indie Cinema on July 19th, 24th, 30th, and August 5th.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
What were you gonna say, Charles? Go ahead.
So you got Scotiabank, you're urging us to boycott. Is there any companies or brands?
On our link tree, if you go onto our onto our link tree, there's a page, there's a website called No Thanks, and it'll show you what to boycott and what not. There's also another one, Disoccupied.
Okay,
Okay. Also,
all right, I'll look.
please do.
Write down.
Yes. Now, I'm also going to show you quickly the what's it called? Where is it?
You have my email, right?
I believe I do, yes.
Did you guys,
Give me just 2 seconds. I want to show them the poster for the encampments. Come on. Okay, wait. I'm not gonna find it. Oh, there it is. Here's the poster for the encampments. Give me a moment. Yeah. There's the poster for the encampments.
Okay.
Right there.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. Okay, and that's it. We're gonna call it right now then. All right, everybody on Zoom, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. That was.
yes,